The prairie stretched out in every direction like an endless sea of gold. The wind skimmed across the grass in long, rippling waves, carrying with it the distant call of a hawk and the faint scent of storm clouds far to the west. Lone Cedar rode in silence, the way he always had. Silence was easier than people, and the land never judged him for it. For years he had lived beyond the edges of settlements and beyond the edge of his own tribe's gatherings. He wasn't outcast. Never that, but after losing his family to sickness when he was young, he simply drifted. People reminded him of absence. The land reminded him of survival. It was early afternoon when he noticed something wrong. His horse, Redwind, stopped first. Her ears twitched toward a crooked fence half a mile ahead. Lone Cedar narrowed his eyes. Something small, too still to be an animal, leaned against the wooden rails. He nudged Redwind forward. As he approached, he realized it was a person. A girl, maybe around 18, slumped against the fence posts. Her wrists were tied loosely with old rope, as if whoever had bound her hadn't cared whether she escaped or not. Her clothes were dusty, and her face was pale with exhaustion, but she was conscious, barely. When she looked up, her eyes widened with fear, then confusion. Lone Cedar stopped a respectful distance away and lifted both hands in a calm gesture. "I'm not here to harm you," he said gently. "May I help?" The girl swallowed. Her voice came out thin and raspy. I don't know who left me here. I don't even know my name." Lone Cedar felt a weight settle in his chest. Memory loss, shock, whatever had happened to her must have been frightening, though her body didn't show signs of serious injury. She simply looked exhausted, dehydrated, abandoned. "Let me cut the rope," he said. She nodded. He removed his knife and sliced the frayed knot. The girl winced as she moved her arms, but relief softened her shoulders. "Can you stand?" he asked. She tried. Her legs trembled and gave way. Lone Cedar stepped sideways, letting her lean on the fence instead of him, careful not to startle her. "Easy," he said. "You don't need to rush." She took a long, shaky breath. What should I call myself? I don't remember anything." Names were important. Deeply so. Lone Cedar did not speak immediately, considering. The land gave names to those who listened. The girl's eyes drifted toward the horizon, where a thin curl of smoke rose from faraway lightning strikes. Her gaze was drawn to it. "Smoke follows fire," Lone Cedar murmured. "Fire can destroy, but it can also warm, protect, and begin again." He looked at her kindly. "Until you remember your own name, may I call you Firelight?" The girl blinked, and something softened in her expression, a spark, small but real. "Firelight," she repeated quietly. "I like that. .. By sundown, Lone Cedar had set up a small camp beneath an outcrop of sandstone. The fire crackled softly, painting the rocks in orange glow. Firelight wrapped herself in the blanket he had given her, sitting close enough to the warmth to stop her shivering. She watched the flames for a long time before speaking. "You don't have to help me," she said. "You don't even know me." Lone Cedar poked the fire with a stick, letting the sparks rise like tiny stars. "You don't need to know someone to treat them with care," he replied. "I've been alone a long time. If the land lets our paths cross, maybe it's for a reason." She considered that. "Do you live out here?" "Mostly," he said. "I trade with settlements when needed. I visit my people sometimes. But I walk my own trail." Firelight looked into the flames as if searching for pieces of herself. "I wish I knew where my trail used to be." "You will," Lone Cedar assured. "Memories return like the sunrise, not all at once, but slowly." She smiled faintly. "You speak like someone who spends too much time alone." "Maybe I do." She laughed. "Just a small sound, but warm." Lone Cedar almost smiled. Days passed. Firelight regained her strength. She helped gather firewood, learned to identify edible plants, and found comfort in the rhythm of the prairie. Lone Cedar never pushed her to remember, never questioned her past. Instead, he focused on the present, on keeping her safe, fed, and supported. At night, she asked questions. "Why do you live alone?" He answered honestly. "Because losing people hurts, and sometimes avoiding hurt feels easier." She didn't judge him for it. "Do you think I have people out there?" "Everyone comes from somewhere," he said. But belonging doesn't depend only on the past. You can build it. She held onto that thought tightly. One morning, while they followed a creek to refill their water skins, Firelight touched the rough bark of a fallen log and suddenly froze. Lone Cedar turned. What's wrong? Her breath hitched. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but with recognition. I remember something, she whispered. He waited patiently. There was a wagon, a storm, people yelling my name, my real name. I still can't hear it clearly, but I wasn't alone. Something happened, and I got separated. It's a start, Lone Cedar said gently. Firelight looked at him, her eyes uncertain but hopeful. What do I do now? You choose, he replied. We can search for them. Or you can stay with my people for a while. You have time. She hesitated. Would your people accept me? They've accepted wanderers before, he said. And you helped yourself more than you think. You're stronger now. Firelight looked over the prairie, the wide, bright land that had become her temporary home. I want to find where I came from, she said softly, but I don't want to lose what I found here either. You won't, he said. Firelight can belong to more than one place. She took a deep breath of the warm wind. Then let's go, wherever the trail leads. They packed their camp and mounted Redwind together, riding toward the rising sun. Firelight's past waited somewhere ahead, but she no longer faced it alone. Lone Cedar rode beside her, not as a rescuer, not as a replacement for lost memories, but simply as someone who understood what it meant to search for a place to belong. For the first time in many years, he didn't feel lonely. For the first time in her life, at least the part she could remember, Firelight felt safe. And together, they followed the trail toward a future neither of them feared anymore.